Her hidden power. Why we don't see it. What if what we call feminine weakness is actually her greatest strength? What if we've become so accustomed to viewing women through the lens of what they lack that we completely miss the abundance they carry within themselves? Today, we'll try to look behind the veil of conventional perceptions and discover that secret power that has remained invisible to a world tuned to a different frequency of perception for centuries. We'll embark on a journey through the labyrinth of the feminine psyche to understand why does the most powerful force in the nature of human relationships remain a mystery even to those who embody it. Imagine for a moment that you're looking at a river. On the surface, you see only ripples, reflections of clouds, the play of light. But all the real life of the river happens in its depths, where currents create invisible whirlpools, where water finds its way among stones, where that force is born that can change the landscape. The feminine psyche is structured like this river. What's visible on the surface is only a small part of the ocean that moves in the depths of her being. We live in a world that has learned to value direct action, visible results, measurable strength. This is a world where strength is associated with force, where power means control, where influence equals domination. And in this coordinate system, a woman may indeed seem weak, because her strength operates by completely different laws. She doesn't break, she transforms. She doesn't capture, she receives and converts. She doesn't subjugate, she inspires change. Her strength is like the force of gravity, invisible but fundamental, shaping the orbits of all planets in her system. Carl Gustav Jung wrote about how both masculine and feminine archetypes live within each person, animus and anima. And if the masculine principle manifests itself through structure, logic, directed action, then the feminine, through intuition, emotional intelligence, the capacity for deep empathy and transformation. But what happens in a society that recognizes only the first as valuable and devalues the second? The same thing that would happen to music if we decided that only drums matter and all other instruments are just unnecessary noise. A woman begins to hide her true strength even from herself. She learns to speak the language of the masculine world, accepts its rules of the game, and in this process loses connection with her natural wisdom. She begins to consider as weakness what is actually her unique gift, the ability to feel deeper, see what's hidden, create connections where others see only scattered parts. It's as if an eagle began to be ashamed of its ability to fly, watching how fast cheetahs run. Have you ever noticed how a woman can sense the mood of a room the moment she crosses the threshold? How she picks up those subtle changes in voice, gestures, energy that remain unnoticed by others. How she can predict conflict long before it manifests on the surface. This isn't weakness. This is hypersensitivity that allows her to navigate the space of human relationships with astonishing accuracy. But in a world where only what can be measured and calculated is valued, this ability is often perceived as excessive emotionality or even instability. What if we look at this differently? What if this sensitivity is not a flaw, but an instrument of cognition, more refined and precise than any device? A woman is capable of perceiving information not only with her mind, but with her body, heart, intuition. She can feel lies where logic hasn't yet found contradictions. She can anticipate problems where analysis hasn't yet identified risks. She can see potential where others see only chaos. Her psyche works like a complex symphony, where each note is information coming through different channels of perception. There's another side of feminine power that remains invisible. This is her ability to transform not only herself, but the surrounding space. A woman doesn't simply adapt to circumstances. She changes them with her presence. She brings to any situation a quality of attention, care, depth that gradually transforms everything around. This happens not through direct impact, but through creating a special atmosphere in which what previously seemed impossible becomes possible. She's like a catalyst in a chemical reaction. Doesn't change herself, but makes changes around her possible. Think about how a woman creates a home. This isn't just arranging furniture or choosing colors for walls. This is creating an energetic field in which each family member can be themselves, where healing happens, where dreams are born. A man can build walls, but only a woman can create a home in the true sense of the word. And this ability to create space for life, growth, transformation, isn't this strength? This is the strength of an architect of human souls, a builder of invisible bridges between hearts. Or take her ability to multitask, which is often mocked as chaos. But what if this isn't chaos, but a special type of intelligence capable of holding multiple processes in consciousness simultaneously? A woman can prepare dinner, help a child with homework, plan tomorrow's day, and at the same time notice the emotional state of each family member. Her brain doesn't work like a computer executing commands sequentially, but like an orchestra where each section plays its part, creating a unified melody of life. But perhaps the greatest secret of feminine power is her ability for self-transformation. A woman experiences cycles in her body and psyche that are inaccessible to masculine experience. Every month, she goes through a small death and rebirth, experiencing in miniature all stages of the life cycle. In motherhood, she experiences the process of creating new life, not only physically, but psychologically, becoming a conduit between worlds, between non-being and being. In menopause, she undergoes deep transformation that can open new facets of wisdom unavailable in youth. These cycles don't make her weaker. They make her wiser in matters of change, more flexible in adaptation, deeper in understanding the nature of life. A woman knows in her body what a man can only understand with his mind, that life is constant flow, that strength lies not in resisting change, but in the ability to move with it while preserving one's essence. She carries within herself a living library of transformation experience, where each page is written not with words, but with lived experiences. There exists yet another aspect of feminine power that is rarely discussed. This is her ability for deep listening, not just to hearing words, but to perceiving what stands behind words. A woman can hear a cry for help in what seems like ordinary conversation. She can recognize love in what looks like criticism. She can see fear in what manifests as aggression. This ability makes her a natural healer, not necessarily in the medical sense, but in the sense of healing human relationships, restoring connections, creating space for vulnerability and growth. Now stop for a moment and honestly look at yourself. If you're a woman, when did you last truly value your ability to feel deeply? When did you take pride in your intuition instead of apologizing for it? When did you see in your emotionality not weakness, but wisdom? When did you last trust your inner voice, even if it contradicted logic and accepted opinion? If you're a man, can you discern this hidden strength in the women around you? Can you value what doesn't resemble your own strength? Perhaps the problem isn't that a woman lacks strength, but that we don't know how to see it. We look for it where we're accustomed to seeing masculine strength, and don't find it because we're looking in the wrong place. It's like looking for stars in the daytime sky. They're there, but our eyes aren't adapted to see them in bright light. Feminine strength is the strength of water, which can bypass any obstacle, penetrate the narrowest cracks, patiently wear away even the hardest stone. This is the strength of a seed that can sprout in the most unfavorable conditions. This is the strength of the moon, which controls tides and ebbs while remaining invisible in daylight. But why does this strength remain secret? Why don't women themselves always recognize it? One reason lies in the fact that feminine strength often manifests through relationships, through creation, through supporting growth in others. And in a culture of individualism, where only what you can attribute personally to yourself is valued, such strength seems invisible. A woman can spend years supporting her husband, helping him achieve success, but only his name will remain in history. She can raise children who will change the world, but the authorship of these changes will be attributed to them, not her. Another reason is that feminine strength often works slowly, gradually. It doesn't create spectacular moments, doesn't make loud sounds. It's like the root system of a tree, invisible, but it's exactly what nourishes everything we see above ground. In a world obsessed with quick results and instant recognition, such strength easily remains unnoticed. And the third reason is that women themselves were raised in a culture that devalues their natural gifts. They were taught that emotions are weakness, that intuition is unreliable, that caring for others is less important than caring for oneself. They absorbed masculine standards of strength and began applying them to themselves, inevitably arriving at the conclusion of their own inadequacy. Maybe it's time to change our perspective. Maybe it's time to create a new value system in which there will be place not only for the strength of action, but also for the strength of being, not only for the strength of conquest, but also for the strength of acceptance, not only for the strength of control, but also for the strength of trust, not only for the strength of mind, but also for the strength of heart. Imagine a world in which feminine strength is recognized and valued equally with masculine strength, where intuition is considered as important an instrument of cognition as logic, where emotional intelligence is valued equally with analytical abilities, where the ability to create deep connections is considered as important a competency as the ability to achieve results, where the capacity for transformation is valued as much as the capacity for achievement. This would be a more balanced world, a world in which both sides of human nature could manifest fully. In such a world, business wouldn't just be a pursuit of profit, but would include care for people and the planet. Education wouldn't be limited to transmitting information, but would include developing emotional intelligence and wisdom. Medicine wouldn't be reduced to treating symptoms, but would consider a person as a whole being. Politics wouldn't just be a struggle for power, but would become the art of creating conditions for everyone's prosperity. But this world begins with each of us. From the moment when a woman stops apologizing for her nature and begins to value it. From the moment when she stops trying to become someone else and begins to reveal who she really is. From the moment when she understands that her secret power was secret only because the world wasn't yet ready to see it. Imagine that you begin to trust your premonitions as much as you trust facts. That you begin to value your ability to feel as much as you value your ability to think. That you begin to see in your care for others not sacrifice, but a manifestation of strength. That you begin to perceive your cycles not as inconvenience, but as a source of wisdom. That you begin to regard your multifacetedness not as chaos, but as richness. Your strength is not in becoming stronger in the traditional understanding of this word. Your strength is in being yourself, completely, sincerely, without apologies. In trusting your feelings, your intuition, your ability to see what's hidden from superficial view, in valuing your ability to transform the world, not through coercion, but through your presence. Perhaps the most revolutionary thing a woman can do in the modern world is simply to be herself, not try to conform to others' standards, not be ashamed of her natural gifts, not hide her depth behind a mask of superficiality. Being yourself means allowing the world to see that strength that has remained in shadow for centuries. And when one woman decides on this, she gives permission to others. When she stops playing the role of the weak one, she shows other women that they too can drop this mask. When she begins to value her gifts, she creates space in which others can discover theirs. It's like lighting a candle in darkness. Its light not only illuminates the path for her, but also makes the path visible for others. Maybe it's time to stop looking for your strength where it isn't, and start noticing the one that has always been with you. Maybe it's time to see yourself not through the prism of shortcomings, but through the prism of that unique gift you bring to this world simply because you are a woman. Maybe it's time to stop being a secret even to yourself. Tonight, before you fall asleep, ask yourself the question, how does my secret power manifest? And listen to the answer, not only with your mind, but also with your heart. You might be surprised by what you hear. And tomorrow, wake up with the intention to live the day trusting this strength, and see what changes in your world when you begin to see yourself as you really are, not weak, but differently strong, not inadequate, but whole, not secret, but an open book of wisdom that the world is only learning to read.